Hello, my name is Joyce Raimondo. I'm an artist. I'm also the education coordinator at the Pollock Krasna House and Study Center, a national landmark in East Hampton. This program is part of a series called The Language of Art, where each week we explore the elements in art: color, line, shape, texture, and we're also going to explore composition for our final session. Today, our program is If Lines Could Talk. We're going to look at modern artists and how they use line to express feelings, energy, and ideas. And then I will guide you through some exercises so you can discover for yourself how lines can express emotions and your inner life. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to ask you questions so that you can think about these artworks that I'm presenting. Just hang on. So let's start with these two portraits by Matisse. Matisse says, drawing is like making an expressive gesture with the advantage of permanence. What is an expressive gesture? A gesture is a movement, right? You move your body, you move your hand, you make a gesture. An expressive gesture is a gesture that communicates. But when we create art, we are actually making the gesture permanent with the artist's mark, right? And so here we have two portraits by Matisse, and let's do a comparison. But let's start with the one on the right. When you look at this woman, how would you describe her? Most people say that she seems delicate, elegant, shy, maybe even a little coy, right? Innocent. These are the kinds of remarks that I hear. But what makes her look that way? Well, of course, we have the expression on her face, the way her eyes are positioned, her mouth, things like that. But in addition to the features of the face, we notice that the lines themselves express. The lines are curvy, they're smooth, right? The lines themselves are elegant. Even the lines of her necklace seem somewhat childlike and add to the feeling of innocence in this portrait. Now let's take a look at the portrait on the left. How would you describe this woman? Most people, when they look at this person, they say she's more mature. She seems serious. She seems maybe even determined. But what makes her look that way? Let's take a look at the lines. Matisse is using a heavier line, a more angular line. And so it communicates something about the way he feels about this woman, as well as her personality. The collar makes her look maybe more serious, but not just the fact that she has a collar, but also the fact that the collar is pointy, angular, and the line is bolder. Similarly, the line of her cheekbones and her chin is a more angular line. So this makes her look perhaps more mature and more serious. And of course, her eyebrows are heavier as well. So when you make a portrait of someone, you're not only trying to achieve a likeness, you want to say something about their personality using the elements of art. And today we're focusing, of course, on line. And here is a beautiful contour drawing by Pablo Picasso. So sometimes you can draw a continuous line that indicates the edges of things. That's called a contour. It's not an outline. So for example, we can see the contour of her nose, of her lips, of her eyes, with one continuous, almost one continuous, unbroken line. Juan Miró creates this self-portrait. He's exiled from Spain, his homeland. The portrait during the war, The portrait is filled with anxiety, right? Filled with mystery. Take a look at it. We see all of these. Hold on, I have to stop the share for a moment. Excuse the interruption, and let's continue our talk. So we were discussing Juan Miró, and I was saying that Miró was in exile during the Spanish Civil War. He was staying in Paris. So we can see his likeness in this portrait, but let's take a look at the kind of lines that he's using and how he creates this portrait and what does it communicate. We see all of these designs and images of, they appear to be somewhat, sometimes stars or celestial images. Even sometimes some of them appear to be, to some people, that they look explosive. Miró is using a line to let the line flow, let the line come out of him, to create this dreamlike portrait. And the line is superimposed onto a background that's very, very blurry, and it's a soft background. So you have a contrast there. It's almost like the person is translucent. So take a look. How would you describe this person? What is he communicating about himself? His lips seem to be pursed, right? Many people think that he seems to be afraid, right? He's immersed in his own inner world, it appears, right? And this makes sense given the time period this was made, 1937, a very troubling time in Europe. Whoop, this just got stuck. Don't know why this got, okay. So Edward Munch, of course, this is the famous scream, and there's many versions of this picture. This one is a woodcut. What's going on in the scream? How would you describe how this person feels? Most people say he's terrified, right? He's frightened. Of course, his face indicates his fear, the expression, right? And the hands are covering his ears. It's indicating the sound of the scream, right? And then we have all these wavy lines, right? That could actually be the scream itself, the sound echoing through nature. But the lines themselves also indicate a feeling. The entire setting, everything in this person's world is indicating fear and anxiety. Sometimes when we feel afraid, when we have anxiety, the whole entire world, we perceive it as a frightening place. So how is Edward Munch showing the inner life of himself as the artist, as well as the main character in the picture, right? Not only through the facial expression and the pose of the distortion of the body, but also through the entire setting and the quality of the line. The line seems to be wavy and quivering. It adds to that feeling of anxiety. And of course, there's so much going on in this narrative. We see two mysterious people in the background. Are they menacing or just two innocent people walking along the bridge? We have vertical lines on the right. Is the water actually coming up onto the bridge? And then the lines of the bridge itself are in this strange, deep perspective, but at the same time, the bridge seems to be flipped up. So I encourage you to take closer looks at these pictures after our talk, because you certainly can use your imagination as you enter into the world of the scream by Edward Munch. Emil Nolde creates this woodcut, The Prophet, in 1912. How does this person feel? Of course, we see this deep, deep sadness. The person is extremely forlorn, you might say. But what makes him look that way? Of course, we see the eyebrows, the heavy eyebrows are going up. The eyes are pointed upward also, which is a sad expression. And the mouth is pointing downward, which is also, of course, a sad expression on the mouth. But it's more than that. The entire face is in darkness, isn't it? And the lines themselves, which actually become shapes because they're so thick, are so heavy, right? The melancholy, the sadness, the despair that this person is feeling, we say we're feeling heavy, right? Just like this, the lines are very heavy. Everything is going down. So when we talk about expressiveness of line, we have weight. We also have direction. Sometimes when there's verticality going down, it can indicate sadness. And we say we're feeling down, but that's not a rule, but that's a sometimes. Jean Dubuffet creates this portrait. It's a painting, but he's painting this person in a way where he's using a very physical aspect of the paint. He's swooshing it on, he's scraping it. Look at the furrowed forehead, the wrinkles on the forehead, the crow's feet around the eyes. Sometimes when you paint, you can create lines not only by adding, but also by removing paint. You can take away the paint to create lines. Now, of course, this is also somewhat of a caricature. The features are exaggerated, the sizes are distorted, and he's showing us a really unflattering picture of this art critic. Oskar Kokoschka is invited to create a portrait of this couple, and this is his portrait. This is German Expressionism. We see not only is he painting the couple, he's expressing something about their relationship. Take a look at this couple. How would you describe them? What is their communication in the picture saying? We see they're not looking at each other, right? We see their hands are approaching each other, but not quite connecting. He seems to be reaching out to her, but there seems to be a disconnect. She seems to be protecting herself with her pose. And his hands the lines are wavy and red. They seem to be quivering. Now in the background, we have all different kinds of paint that's smeared in a very expressive way. And then Oskar Kokoschka actually took his fingernails and scraped away the paint to get those lines throughout the picture, where you can see he removed the paint. So again, he's using the elements of art, line, color, texture, to express something about this couple that most people would interpret there's a sense of alienation, a disconnect. Now, Mondrian uses a grid. Sometimes when we have a grid, what does that express to you? Most people find a grid is associated with stability, rationality, and even calmness, right? Very, very stable. And the lines in Mondrian's paintings are very clean lines. Sometimes he uses tape to get that hard edge line. 100% abstract. When you use lines, they don't have to be attached to representing an object, as all of the other pictures that we saw. Lines in and of themselves, colors in and of themselves, shapes in and of themselves can be expressive and can communicate. Abstract art. Vasily Kandinsky and Mondrian are two of the earliest abstract artists. Kandinsky, in this picture, we see the lines are much different, aren't they? They're all different sizes, they're all different thicknesses. But when we have diagonal lines, like in this picture, what happens? It suggests movement. There's dynamism in this picture. Jackson Pollock creates his lines by dripping paint from sticks. In this painting, he also has collage elements. Jackson Pollock is working in an old barn in the Springs in East Hampton, New York. This is revolutionary. This is also abstract art, but very, very different than Kandinsky and Mondrian. Jackson Pollock comes later. Jackson Pollock's way of painting is very physical, right? It's a physical release of paint, an energy. And he's dripping paint from sticks. He places the canvas on the floor, so wherever the paint lands, it stays. And he often works from all four sides. He says, I want to be in the painting. He says, I want to express myself rather than illustrate a feeling. So it's 100% abstract. When he starts out, he has no idea in mind of what this painting will come out like. But you can see here, there's incredible variety in the kinds of lines he's creating. Thick, thin, heavy, fast, slow, etc. And here's Pollock in his barn studio with his wife, Lee Krasner. Lee Krasner and Pollock are abstract expressionist artists. They're also called action painters because in the final result of the painting, you can clearly see the artist's movement. You can see Lee Krasner's action, the black and white lines of paint. You can imagine her moving her hand and her body in a swirl. It's very evident. It's not disguised in any way, the kind of movement that was created as she was painting. So we're going to stop there, and I'm going to lead you through some exercises where you can explore line on your own. I am going to lead you through 2 exercises designed for you to really understand the expressive quality of line. The first exercise is really simple. I want you to play. I want you to discover what your drawing implement can do. So I am working with an ordinary number 2 pencil. And what I am going to do is I'm going to play like a child and discover how many different ways and what kinds of ways can I use my pencil. And when you're doing this, I want you to really observe the different kinds of marks that you can create. So be open and don't worry about a finished product. So for example, what happens when I move my pencil softly and slowly or fast and press down harder? What happens when I do a zigzag or a squiggle, right? What happens when I use the side of my pencil? Right? Or even use it that way. What happens when I do dashes and lift it up as I'm working? Or small circular movements. Okay? See how many different kinds of marks you can create. Okay? And what happens when I do a thick line like this? Okay, by pressing really, really hard. So we're not going for an end product. This is, I want you to really play, okay? Just play with your pencil or whatever you're drawing with, your charcoal, your marker, anything you're drawing with. I want you to see how many different lines can I create, okay? Take a few minutes for this. Pause the video. Now, when you're finished, I want you to think of words to describe the lines. So for example, I might say this one is dark, it's thick, it's curved, right? These are fast lines. This one right here, I could say it's delicate, it's slow, zigzag, curly, right? Start to develop vocabulary for the kinds of lines you're creating and share your drawing with someone. But I really want you to think of this in the spirit of play, similar to the way a toddler thinks when they're playing with paint or toys. They're not thinking about, what am I going to make? They're in a process of exploration. This is how you learn about art. Okay. After this exercise, I want you to do a little bit of a more structured exercise. I want you to create a line map of your day, but you're not going to use images of things that you did, activities that you did. You're going to let the line indicate how you experience that time of the day. So just to jog my memory, I might just on a separate piece of paper jot down some things that I did today or yesterday and how I just so I can kind of remember. So let's see, I am going to do my day yesterday and I'm going to jot down some ideas here. Trying to remember what I did yesterday after I woke up. Did a lot yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate to you as I am drawing my line. I'm going to do a map that expresses how I felt at these different times of day. And I am going to talk about what I'm drawing while I'm doing it. And I really don't know what's going to come out here. So let's see. I woke up and I had my coffee. And then I did some organized things on the computer. And it was kind of like linear thinking. I felt very steady, very organized. Then I took a walk to town. Okay, nice walk to town and back. That was nice. I ate lunch in a hurry. Okay, and then I taught on Zoom, which is nice, but it does require effort. So I'm kind of putting some bumps here to show that it was a lot of talking for me, right? Rest, then I did another Zoom. Right? Talking. Then I ate dinner. I rushed. I had a very busy day yesterday. I was really tired. And then I went on to my Spanish class. And that was a little relaxing because I just talked a little bit, but I could just listen mostly. And then I spoke on the phone with someone, which was nice. And then I kind of collapsed into television and went to sleep. So this is how I chose to express my day, okay? Waking up, organizing, walk to town, nice smooth walk, rush eating, zoom, right? Rest a little bit, zoom, rush eating, etc., etc. So I want you to create a line map of your day. You don't have to set yours up in this way, in this format. You can set it up any way you like. You can do it in a circular way. That doesn't matter. This is just how I visualized it going back and forth. Okay? And then share it with someone and see if they can understand what your lines are communicating, right? So even a simple scribble can indicate that I was rushed. These curly cues can indicate that I was relaxed, I was happy, etc. Okay? Have fun with that. So our final activity for our hands-on is I want you to apply some of these ideas about how lines can express to a drawing of a face. You can draw yourself, you can draw a person that you know, but I want you to use line to convey the feeling. Don't worry so much if it looks like the person. Let's see if we can actually use these lines to express. So I'm just going to give you two examples that are very contrasting just to show the idea. So let's say if I was really, really angry, I would want the lines in this drawing to show that, okay? This will be upside down and then I will hold it upright. So let's say if I was angry, which I don't feel angry today, but I'm going to think of something that makes me really mad. I might just do a face with lines that are so mad, it might even wind up tearing the paper. Okay, she's really, really mad. Not very flattering, is it? Now, let's say I was very relaxed and happy and having a great day. Let's see what I can come up with for that. This time, I am I'm doing this a little darker than maybe I need to be, but maybe I'll do the hairline really smooth, right? So the lines are curvy, they're nice and smooth, right? Maybe I'll even do the eyes closed. Okay, very different expressive quality, isn't it? So, as I said, it's not only the features that are showing the expression, it's also the kinds of lines you're using. So try this. You could do one face, you could do two faces, you could do several faces, and see if you can really use that line quality to express something. So have fun with this. And take your time with these different activities. And remember, draw all the time to learn about how to draw. And we will continue our series. Our next session, we're going to explore shape. Have a wonderful day or evening. Thank you.